The City of Johannesburg has a new mayor. Al-Jama chairperson in Johannesburg, Thapelo Amad, was elected earlier today in council chambers with the highest of margins. His election comes after the ousting of Mayor Mpopalazi yesterday in a motion of no confidence. The 41-year-old Amad was born in Soweto and studied theology before becoming an imam, and until his election as mayor, he was serving as chairperson of the city's Section 79 Oversight Portfolio Committee on Governance. For some reaction on Amad's election and vision, we are now joined by political analyst Rebone Tau. Rebone, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Now, the COJ mayorship position has been hotly contested, and we've seen so much happening over the last couple of months. Are you surprised by Dr. Palazi's ousting?
I mean, one is not surprised. Coalitions in their nature, they're not very easy. They're very different, very complex. And for us, as a young democrats as we are, we are still also to understand coalitions. And I think parties, need to do more, workshops on coalitions themselves, because it's clear that they're here to stay. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. And for the first time, we find ourselves in a situation where even a minority party, gets elected, or given the position of the mayoral position. And when you speak to some people I spoke to yesterday, from Germany, trying to understand, because in Germany coalitions are there,
yes,
and they have gotten used to them. But they were saying also, with the minority parties in Germany, they find it very difficult to work with each other. So I think we should also prepare ourselves, that it's not going to be an easy one for this administration. We don't know if they will be able to sustain this coalition until the next local government elections.
Where do you believe the DA went wrong in not being able to solidify those ties with the minority parties that had initially had faith in them leading the city?
I mean, if you look at in Gauteng alone, the DA took all the mayoral positions, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg. And it shows that they were playing the big brother, and we have been hearing the Action SA coming out, critiquing the DA. And we know that Action SA, how it was formed by former members, of the DA. And them being concerned about how Patriotic Alliance is being treated, in terms of the agreements, and where Action SA is saying that we're prepared to give 2 mayoral seats to Patriotic Alliance. So the DA, the mistake that it did, and this is what the ANC did, for example, in Ekurhuleni, and they have learned from that. That's why I think in Johannesburg, they decided to take a step back, and not want to be arrogant that they want to contest the mayoral position at all costs. So you can't want to play politics of big brother when you have not won outright, because it's not about it's about a game of numbers, and the smaller parties are proving that they do have much influence in this coalition politics.
Speaking of the ANC and them having learned from their lesson, especially with what happened with Ekurhuleni, now that they took the stance that they've taken, how do you think it's going to benefit them in the future, especially when it comes to a city such as Tshwane?
It will definitely benefit them. And when we look at the ANC, I want us also to look at what is happening in KwaZulu-Natal, the relationship between the DA and the IFP. And I don't know if you're aware, around October last year, there were reports saying that the DA and the IFP are finding each other when it comes to coalition talks. And obviously, they are also planning ahead for 2024. And I was seeing earlier on a report that says that the EFF has pulled out of their relationship with the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal. So that means that the ANC and the EFF are actually strengthening relations now, and they have realized that if they don't find each other, the IFP and the DA will definitely harm them come 2024 national elections.
I mean, earlier on you touched on having a conversation with people in Germany about coalitions, and we know that Al-Jama only occupied 1% of the seats in the Johannesburg Council. What do you think this means to residents of South Africa, of Johannesburg specifically, who voted a majority for the ANC, not an outright majority, in terms of them now seeing someone of a 1% part of this council leading the city. What does that say to us about democracy?
I think we must first start by saying that I don't think that Al-Jama contested all wards, and we have seen in the by-elections, for example, we don't see them contesting all the wards. You know, like you look at even Action SA, you know, like in some parts of the country, they didn't contest other municipalities. They only focused on a few municipalities. But for Al-Jama to actually get this, you know, it's very interesting. And I think South Africans, or citizens of Johannesburg, you know, in particular, for them to not give the ANC the outright win, it says that they were fed up with the ANC. We saw how Action SA actually got, you know, overwhelming support in the city of Johannesburg, and the Action SA, which has now been vocal, you know, about what transpired in the previous, because even the DA also they got less than the ANC in terms, because the ANC has won literally all the wards in the townships. It was the issue of the PR that actually collapsed them, you know, but they still hold most of the councillors on their side. So this is also just saying that it is good for our democracy that even smaller parties are given a chance. I hope that all parties that have negotiated this coalition will actually see through, because we need stability. This is the biggest municipality. This is the economic hub, you know. This is one of the biggest municipalities in the African continent, where a lot of business is happening, you know, across with other metros around the world. So it is in the best interest of all the coalition partners to really give what is required to the citizens, which is the services that is required to the citizens.
Most certainly, the citizens of Johannesburg have been looking for that stability, especially when it comes to services. Quickly, as we wrap up, the new mayor, Thapelo Amad, what could we expect from him in terms of change, in terms of a contribution towards the city, like you say, which is the economic hub of the country, and in ensuring that the city then now functions in a way that it's supposed to?
You know, yesterday when I heard that he's going to come in, you know, I made a few calls, and one person said to me, he seems to have a relationship with a particular faction within the ANC.
Okay.
And one would hope that actually he stays away from factional politics of the ANC and serves people, you know, and do what is right as the mayor, as he's been given that confidence through the council. But one thing that those that know him speak about how hardworking he is, how humble he is, because we need leaders that are humble. For the longest time, we've been having leaders that are arrogant. People don't even want to listen to citizens and their grievances. And one hopes that he will really make sure that he leaves a mark, especially because this is a minority party. So for them to grow their numbers, he needs to make sure that he leaves a mark. Whatever happens with the coalitions, even if it collapses, but people must remember that Thapelo came in from a minority party and he changed the city.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Rebone Tau, political analyst, speaking to us there about the change in politics in the city of Johannesburg.